Good afternoon, Whispers, and welcome to another fabulous episode of Whispers in a Bottle Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays. I am your host, Sonia LeRae, lifestyle counselor, fashion psychologist, and naturopathic practitioner. It is so good to be in our safe zone, to really come in and unwind and be in the Whispers Lounge. Whispers, I'm always so glad to have you all here with me. And, don't forget that Podbean has done something great for us. They have placed a live chat box in all of our discussions. So this way you can drop your comments, your questions into the chat. And your girl monitors a great chat box. So please feel free to leave your comments in there. And don't forget, we give dignity and grace in everything that we do. And so you want to always give respect to one another. That's how we have a rich conversation. So, if you haven't subscribed to our fabulous Whisperers Exchange, that's our newsletter, you are missing out on the fabulous mocktail of the hour. And I have to tell you, we're coming in with some great ones. This month is going to be some good features. We're kind of partnering with another mixologist that brings some great flavors. And so we're looking forward to bringing this to you all. So today, we're digging into something that we touched on actually last season, but we're going to be in depth on this discussion today, and especially on this particular topic because it's silently shaping your relationships, your leadership, and even your confidence as well as your fulfillment. So, Whispers, I like to start all of our discussions off with a clear meaning or definition, and this isn't any different, but guess what is different here? We're going to get the meaning or the understanding of two words in our episode today. So, the first word that we're going to get an understanding of is the wealth. That word, wealth. So, wealth is an abundance of value. So, let me give that word to you again. It's wealth. That's an abundance of value. And the second word that we're going to get the meaning or understanding of is debt. Now, most of us understand that, but let me give you the definition of it. Something that is owed. Okay? Let me give it to you again. Debt means something that is owed. So, Whisperers, just like your financial status, your emotional account is either in overflow or it's in overdraft. And we really kind of leaned into that last season, but we're going to really delve into this. So, unlike a bank statement, your emotional balance shows up in the quality of your life. How you speak to yourself, how you handle pressure, the way you respond to others, and what you attract or repel in your life. And it's so odd that I said that today because I actually had a discussion just recently with someone about the law of attraction, the things that we kind of bring into our lives and into our space, and that presence of ourselves. And this way you really get to understand it on a deeper level, because most people don't realize, and even when you think about it, you may hear some people that are dating and they may say, oh, I just keep attracting the same or the same type of person. Well, this is the thing. It's a law of attraction, the things that we call to ourselves. So just as I said, it's how you handle the pressure, the way you respond to others, and what you attract or repel in your life. See, Whispers, it's a deeper level that we're going into. See, we'll unpack the real difference between emotional wealth and emotional debt today. And I'll also give you 4 master keys to help you identify where you are and what you need to do to realign with your emotional abundance. And let me tell you something, these are master keys that are powerful. That's why I tell you all the time to show up with your proverbial keychains, because each session that we have and each discussion that we have brings us front and center each and every time. and it allows us to even work in unison with the keys that we've received before. So, because truth be told, I have to tell you, you can't fake fulfillment. Now, pay attention. And your emotional net worth, you cannot front, you cannot fake, you cannot pretend, you can't fake it till you make it, none of those things. It always tells on you, and it always tells the truth on you. And that's powerful. See, I want to take a moment in defining the differencing or the differences. So I think let's define it very clearly what emotional wealth is. Emotional wealth is when your mindset, your responses, your boundaries, the relationships are with, and fueled by your self awareness, that grounded values and internal peace are aligned. You have merged them seamlessly, and they do a beautiful dance with each other. You have clarity, and you're not easily thrown or thwarted in the way that you're moving or the way that you're thinking or developing yourself. And you know that there's room to give, to feel, and to expand in that space and place of emotional wealth. I always feel like it's a true dance of that ebb and flow when you have that emotional wealth, because it's a give and take that comes in there, but it's so free flowing that it's like if you ever watch professional dancers and how they're just in that moment and they could have big moments and each one is in that present space, but it's really just kind of melding together beautifully. It's the same thing that our emotional wealth does when we have that in control. And you know who you are, and your emotions aren't running the show. You are running the show. You have your emotions in control. You have your feelings and the elements of different things in control. They're not running amok. They're just kind of out here just presenting themselves a way that you don't even want to be seen. But now let's contrast this to emotional debt. So you heard how powerful, how, full emotional wealth was and is. But let's look at the other side of this table and this coin when we look at emotional debt, though. See, this is when you're emotionally overdrafted or overdrawn. You've been spending energy on things that don't yield growth, doesn't yield any kind of upward mobility, or even help you to pivot, change, or to acclimate in different spaces and places. You've overextended yourselves emotionally in relationships. You're people please past your limit. And you've said yes out of guilt or bottled everything up inside. See, Whispers, this kind of debt isn't just about pain, it's about patterns. And remember our first discussion that we got into, we was kind of leaning in to patterns and how we are to uproot certain things. See, patterns that rob your influence and your joy are things that we want to really kind of move away from. And most people don't even realize they're building emotional debt until they hit that burnout, until they hit that wall, or they have that factor of it's just blown out of proportion. Everything is just kind of blown up. Or until like life forces you to make a hard stop. And see, we don't want to be in that place and space. You can even hear from that description what I just talked about, how it's draining. It doesn't even put a moment or a second or a peace or a relaxation in there. Maybe your body even felt kind of tense when you was hearing it. But here's the thing, Whisperers. Your emotional wealth or debt is either amplified or dimming your influence. Meaning, if you're an executive, an entrepreneur, a partner, a parent, it matters. You lead from your emotional well being, so let's stop treating it like a side dish and start treating it like the main course. See, many people go through life treating this element of emotional wealth and emotional debt like it's something that's a side dish, like it's an afterthought. But it's not. It's the main dish. It's the focal point. It's what keeps us moving and keeping ourselves pivoting and keeping us even in that vitality. Now, listen, we all talk about our health is our wealth. But if your mindset is already damaged or is being drained of nutrients, how can it become emotionally wealthy? How can it start to change and bring in different aspects if it's really not getting the proper nutrients to help you to be healthy? See, Whisperers, I think this is a good place for us to start to inject our master keys. And I love to give you master keys in all of our discussions. And if this is the first time for you hearing me or listening to our show, let me tell you the reason why I give out master keys. So, I give out master keys because they allow us to open the hallways, the corridors, and the secret compartments of our heart and our mind. And notice that I said the secret compartments because those are areas only YOU know of. And only you know how or what you're lacking in that space and place. And only you know how and what you need to nurture in that space and place. But see, not only do these allow us to open these areas, they are powerful enough to allow us to lock out that inner and outer noise that keep us from engaging or even stepping into and over our purpose. Or better yet, keep us from really building emotional wealth. Now, that's powerful in itself, Whisperers. I tell you, emotional wealth is something that you cannot skimp out on. So, our master keys are powerful enough to help to start that, let's say, depositing factor start to build. Because we want to build wealth. We want to build that emotional wealth. We want to start eliminating the debt. And so, if you know how debt is, and most people know how debt is, you really want to get that kind of whittled down that you have abundance. So, let's step into our first master key. The first key is that we're going to audit the source, not the symptom. Ooh, hold on now. Let's bring that one back again. Let me run it back so you can hear it. We want to audit the source, not the symptom. So, I have to say, I'm a huge fan. I am a huge fan of auditing, and my clients and friends can attest to this fact. I mean, they can attest to it. So when your money's funny, okay, you don't just look at the charge, right? You don't look at the charge. You don't simply just look at that. You look at where the leak started. And I know many of you all that have, been kind of on that budget and you're tight on that budget and all. There is sometimes that there's something that comes out of that account or debits out of that account. You are on it. You know from the cent, the penny, the nickel, the coin that has flipped over, and you're like, hold on a second, pause. No, 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 no. You're not going to charge me this because XYZ, and you go in on it. So emotional wealth works the exact same way. You have to stop managing the surface and start auditing. Now, pay attention, the source. You got to audit the source. So when you snap at your team or you're isolating in your relationship or feel constant dread at the start of the week, It's not just because you're tired. That's just simply the symptom, okay? That's the symptom. You need to find the source now. So let me share a story about one of my clients with you. They are a high-powered executive, and they came to me saying, "I'm exhausted, and I don't even know why." That was the statement totally. And they were just tired. That was it. They was just tired. But they were emotionally bankrupt. Every conversation with their partner felt like a transaction. It felt like they were having to deposit. Everything had to be kind of like it was constant. Their calendar was full, but their heart felt empty. Their joy felt scarce. But together, we really put in the work and we audited not just their schedule, but their emotional withdrawals. See, it requires that we look at both sides of that coin. And they started to realize they'd been overgiving without receiving. Now, many are guilty of that they give and they give and they give, and they forget that it's a give and take. That is how we replenish our emotional bank accounts, our emotional wealth. But then they never pause to process their own needs or their feelings. So, how are they supposed to even know or realize it if they didn't even stop or take that introspection? See, sometimes when we have to audit, that means that we have to sit in a space and place and really see what the expenditures really are. What are we really producing and putting out that we really need to bring back into us? See, Whisperers, that audit was the wake up call and the beginning of their healing. And when you identify the source, not just the symptom, you actually begin to build emotional clarity, and the clarity becomes powerful. The clarity becomes even a stepping stone into the right direction and where you need to make those healthy deposits into that bank account for that emotional wealth. See, Whispers, this discussion is bigger than even what last year's was. Because last year we touched on certain elements, and you need to go back and pick up those master keys in last year's discussion on emotional wealth and emotional debt. But because it needed to be brought forward in a bigger sense, now we're understanding which one are we building, which one are we investing in, or which one are we squandering. And for me, emotional wealth is something that is so worthy of really building upon. So, with that being said, though, it leads us into our second master key. That means that we have to be willing to redefine emotional generosity. Whew. Let me give it. Redefine emotional generosity. We're told being generous makes us good, right? But not all generosity is healthy generosity. Now, I know you're like, what, Sonia? It's true. Emotional generosity, isn't giving beyond your limits. Now, let that vibrate with you. Let that settle in for a moment. So this way you can hear it, you can apply it, and also that the mind can start to absorb it. It's giving from your overflow. It's given from your reserve. It's not given from your main account. There's a major difference between pouring from your peace and pouring from for approval. There's a difference between pouring from your peace and performing for approval. A lot of people, are calling their people pleasing generosity. But unfortunately, to tell you that that's not the case at all. That is not true. It's emotional manipulation in disguise and often rooted in unhealthy validation, unhealthy wounds that develop. But I want to give a little shift though. So let's just shift a little bit. Even maybe if you just kind of shift a little bit in your chair to get just a sense of it. Emotional wealth means knowing how to give without losing YOU. You see, that's the element that many miss. You know, I had a great friend that was always the fixer. At work, literally in her family, in her relationship, she was like Bounty. She was the quicker picker upper. And yet no one was showing up for her though. She asked me, why do you think that is? And it was because she trained everyone to believe she didn't need anything or she didn't need help. I told her, you realize you train everybody that you can do it all. I said, you see that S on your chest? And she was like, I don't have no. I said, look at it. It's beaming. It's bright. It's like a beacon. And it was because so many times she had always, when people would even, oh no, I have it. I'm fine. Thank you. So I helped her to redefine her generosity though. She started expressing her needs. She stopped over explaining things. And she said to no without feeling guilty. So she had a hard stop, a big period at the end of that word no. It was final, it was done, and she didn't feel guilty over it. And guess what, Whispers? Her influence didn't shrink. Her presence didn't shrink. It deepened. And the gratitude became more in depth. And people started to really value her because she was really valuable. But she didn't get the value that she had. She didn't see the wealth that she had. And many times that's what happens. See, Whispers, emotional wealth honors boundaries. It honors it. It places it there. It allows us to walk in with grace, dignity, and give us the confidence to be able to say, no, thank you so much. Or I need your help. Or I need a moment so I can decompress. And it holds them in a very revered space even. Emotional wealth is so incredible. It's like you have the most valuable diamond that has possibly been ever cut. And we know that there is a diamond that is worth literally over $6.8 trillion. Now, I didn't say billion, I said trillion. Because, see, when we have emotional wealth, it allows you to lead, love, and live from a place of truth, not depletion. That means that it allows you to live and show up in totality. It doesn't just say, okay, well, today we're going to be on, tomorrow we'll be off. We'll get it together one day, don't worry about it. It doesn't do that. It shows up in all of its opulence. Notice the words that I'm using even. Because, see, emotional wealth is just such a beautiful gift that it gives to us over and over again. And when we really can understand it and harness it, notice the word harness being brought into this space and place again. When we can harness it, it means that we can show ourselves the compassion that we need. It means that we start to build such wealth that it's overflowing in our surplus. And guess what? That means that you have that totality of vitality in your possession and you're walking with it. You understand what it means and what it even needs when it has to be replenished, even. You don't neglect that space and place. See, this is such a powerful perspective. And having generosity is that place that is an abundance of wealth. An abundance of wealth. Remember, I said that in 2025, our word was going to be abundance. So when we think of emotional wealth versus emotional debt, we want to have that abundance, that overflow, meaning there's nothing lacking in that space and place. I tell you all the time, I come in from a place and space of abundance constantly. And I think you have to realize that I am living in a space and place of emotional wealth because every discussion I'm pouring out, but it's not pouring out from my main account, it's pouring from my reserve. Because, see, I've given that emotional wealth the boundaries, the auditing, the proper respect that it deserves. But see, Whispers, when we say that, it means that we have to walk in to our third master key as well. It means that we have to heal your inner money story. Whoa, now hold on a second. Hold on a second. In the words of a good friend, hold your mule. You have to heal your inner money story. Now, this might catch you off guard a little bit today, but your financial beliefs and your emotional beliefs are deeply, deeply connected. Oh, yes, they are. And many of you have scarcity mindsets emotionally and financially. And I'm really be honest about this because your inner script says, I have to struggle to deserve. It takes hard work to get. I have to reach higher to develop better. See, if you were raised in survival or taught to suppress emotions or always felt you had to earn love, you likely duplicated that in how you relate to time, money, and intimacy. Now, let that kind of vibrate for a second because that was a little bit much and it was powerful to even take in. But you realize, Whispers, when we heal or you heal that inner money story, that means you also heal generational stories. Remember, we had that just a couple of weeks ago, just a matter of weeks ago, that generation, we got to turn that story off and build our legacy. So those master keys in that discussion mean that you have to bring them forward into today's discussion to be able to heal your inner money story. See, one client shared that they could build multi-million dollar brands, but had no idea how to build emotional intimacy at all. And they even feared that being vulnerable made them look weak, made them look soft, but it was rooted in an emotional poverty mindset. And I can't afford to be open. I can't afford to be open. That was the terminology used. But you heard that, right? Well, I can't afford that. I can't afford. That's not, well, that's not in my, but I can't. See, the scarcity is there. I cannot afford to be open. So in turn, people just get this half relationship, this kind of mediocre relationship. And mediocrity seems to be in thriving big time in 2025 and even last year. Mediocrity seems to be the the note of the day, even if you look at things that are happening right in front of your eyes, even in the news and everything else. So, but just like money, emotional wealth grows when you invest. Emotional wealth grows when we invest. You have to nurture peace, not just pursue success. And some, many are out here running down success, chasing it down, scuffling at every turn, jumping over pillars to try to get it, but then they're falling short everywhere else because they have that scarcity. You have to build margins, not just grind. You have to learn that you are worthy of rest, softness, safety, love, healing, emotional support. Healing your emotional money story starts by identifying the lies you've been told or you've been telling. It starts by replacing the lies you've been told or you've been telling. You've been telling. And replacing them with truths that empower, not enslave. Who? Whispers. Enslaved. Being chained down to something that does not serve you. Being chained down to something that is depleting you, that is washing away your emotional wealth, your emotional intelligence, your emotional being. But because of fear, we step back and act like we don't see it. Out of this is me, accept me as I am. That's the story that you have to heal. That's the story you have to heal. Because if you don't, you are going to start to implement and integrate this into your legacy. And guess what happens? It snuffs out any long-term success or any legacy that is being built on a crumbling foundation. Now that's powerful. But see, with that being said, Whisperers, it takes us into our fourth and final master key. And that fourth master key is your emotions are your brand. Your emotions are your brand. Whether you're aware of it or not, your emotional energy is what people remember about you. And that's the truth of the matter. It's your real brand. It shows up in how you communicate, in how you handle failure, and in how you show up under pressure. Now, this is the funny thing. I literally have been in public eye for a number of years, for a long time. And I get to meet a lot of people and different ones and everything. As a matter of fact, I've made a lot of friends, even on social media apps from Instagram to LinkedIn to Clubhouse to being on the radio and everything else. I've met so many people. And just recently, I literally had a discussion with someone that we became friends and we almost had to kind of backtrack and figure out, like, how did we become friends? And the person said to me, I just love that you are just so present and how you speak and what you say and the things that you share and the authentic manner that you are in and always present in that space and place. I just felt so connected to who you are. That's my brand. because that's genuinely Sonia LeRae. I come in here and I share a little bit of anything and everything with you, even in regards with my walk in life. Because, see, my emotional wealth is secure. And because this is my brand, I know the value of my brand. But many of you don't. And many of you are depreciating that brand even. See, Whispers, you are influencing people emotionally before you ever say a word. So if you're building emotional debt, people feel that. They feel that way before they feel anything else. And if you're avoiding your truth, hiding behind perfectionism, or leading from wounds, you might look successful, but unfortunately, the vibe won't lie. It will not lie. But now, when you're building emotional wealth, though, you radiate calm, you mold resilience, and you even create a safe space or place for others. And you show up with presence, not performance. And that's where real influence lies. See, when I come in here, I show up as Sonia LeRae. I show up and I bring all of myself in here. From many times when I'm even thinking about certain words that I want to place in here, you may hear me say, now, hold on a second, and I may stammer over certain things because I want to bring the true essence of who Sonia is into even our discussions. And many times as people, we get caught up in all the fanfare, the lights, the bulbs, the click, the clack, the success. Oh, I got to be this, I got to be that, which is unrealistic expectations, but we're not showing up for who and what we really are. See, Whispers, you see, our time together is one that is beneficial because these master keys are lying seeds or planting seeds in your heart and in your mind. So I teach constantly that for things to become habits, right? It's like a garden. They get pollinated first in our ear. And that seed gets pollinated so well that it starts to grow and it starts to have that little root. Then it has to be planted into that rich soil. And that rich soil is our heart. So it moves from our ear down into our hearts. And now that soil is rich and it's giving it everything that it needs so it can start to grow. And it's starting to grow and it's just growing and it's just blossoming beautifully. And it starts to blossom in that beautiful dynamic brain of ours, where it has the sunlight and all the nutrients that it needs to keep developing, only if we are willing to really start planting the seeds properly. See, emotional wealth is a beautiful garden and a beautiful banquet. It is so rich. It has every exotic flower that you could possibly think of. Emotional wealth has every exotic gemstone you possibly could think of. It means that your emotional wealth account is so abundant that there is not even a number to put on it. Forbes is looking for you. Forbes would like to have you on its list. But you first have to understand how to withdraw and how to get down the emotional debt so you can skyrocket. If you need to come back and listen again, do so. Because sometimes our discussions may be vibrating at a decimal that at the moment we may hear certain things, but we really need to be listening to really take it in so we come back so we can really ingest it properly. So we get all the nutrients that we need, but the biggest thing, we take all the master keys that have been given out and place them on our proverbial keychains. And we're not going to throw that keychain in the bottom of our pocketbooks. We're not going to throw them, fellas, in our backpacks where we can't find them. We're not going to put them in the trunk. We're not going to throw them in the closet. We're going to have them in our hand, or they're going to be very handy that we can whip them out and use them at the right time. So, Whisperers, you see, our time always goes by so fast. I feel like I just get started and I'm ready to keep going. Like it feels like the engine is just revving up, right? And especially when we have such powerful discussions like this. I mean, because literally, these are things that we as people are trying to refine and really to engage and to get our minds right. And I want to remind you to please, please make sure that you subscribe to our fabulous newsletter, The Whispers Exchange. And I always tell you there's a live link in every one of our description boxes. And you can always give us a follow over on our Instagram page at whispers in a bottle _podcast. And you can DM us newsletter over there. And this way we get you our broadcasting schedule, other platforms that we'll be on, and everything else. You can hear other discussions because I hold another discussion that is totally different from what we get right here every Friday in the Whisperers Lounge here on Podbean. I'm over on Noon Vibe on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm telling you, this season over there, we're leaning all the way into stress. And we have had some powerful discussions. We already got 4 discussions in. But this is the thing. If you subscribe to our newsletter, you even will get a link to those discussions so you don't even miss them. So I'm telling you, it is powerful. Don't forget, if you would like me to be a guest on your show, or would like for me to be a guest speaker or a special guest host for you, please feel free to reach out to my amazing publicist. His name is Trey Bump, and you can reach him at info@whispersinabottlepodcast.com. Once again, that's info at whispersinabottlepodcast.com, and it's always a link in the description box that you can click on and email him, and always even in our bio over on Instagram at whispersinabottle_podcast. So let me say this in closing to you all, Whisperers. You know what? Let me ask you, are you building emotional wealth or stacking emotional debt? After listening to our discussion, I really want you to sit and think about that question. Are you building emotional wealth or stacking emotional debt? And this isn't just about your personal well being, it's about your leadership, it's about your love, it's about your self care, it's in totality, it's about your legacy, even. So, if you're listening right now and this hits home, and sometimes you have to come back and even listen again, make sure you take your master keys with you. Make sure you try to implement at least one of the master keys throughout your week or throughout your weekend. Because sometimes we have to do things one step at a time. Because when we're building wealth, it requires that we make the right adjustments in our portfolio, but it also requires that we audit that portfolio. And sometimes that is where we have to begin. So, I always love being here with you. And if you need my help and you would like to work with me one-on-one, there's always a link to my calendar. And you can go to even lapazImageConsultants.com, or click the link in the show description to schedule a one-on-one consultation with me. We'll have a strategy session, and I tell you, it's so beneficial. So, Whisperers, stop pouring into everything and everyone while staying empty or overdrafted. And you deserve emotional peace. You deserve alignment. You deserve happiness. You deserve emotional wealth. And most of all, you want to be valuable to who? You. So, with that being said, Whisperers, you have been listening to Whispers in a Bottle Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays, a clear voice amongst the noise. Make sure that you come back next week right here on Podbean at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that's 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. My name is Sonia LeRae. I'm a lifestyle counselor, fashion psychologist, naturopathic practitioner, but I'm always honored to say that I am your host. And you guys, please remember, build your emotional wealth. You'll never be sorry. All right, guys, talk to you next week.